In the heart of the ancient forests, where the night was deeper than anywhere else, and the fog carried the scent of dampness and the past, there lived a boy whose name no one knew. Around him, only dark stories and fear wove, growing with each passing night. The boy, named Liam, was the son of one of the last guardians of the forest. His mother died when he was just a few years old, and his father, a man of great wisdom, did not survive long after her death, leaving the boy alone. But this was not the ordinary loneliness we know. Liam was not just an abandoned child. He was a cursed child, cursed by the forest, by its dark forces that always watched over what was unspoken, hidden deep in the shadows. At night, when the moon rose above the horizon, Liam felt something awakening within him. It changed him, drawing the remnants of his humanity from his heart, flooding it with the relentless rage of a beast. With each full moon, his body grew stronger, and his mind sank into the darkness that came with an incomprehensible power. Changing into a werewolf, Liam was unable to control his instincts. However, despite this dark transformation, the boy was not evil. In Liam's heart, there still flickered a spark of goodness, which he tried to nurture. Although among the shadows, he still felt that the dark creature awakening within him was tearing piece by piece from his human nature. Every day he faced this inner battle. He didn't want to be a monster. He didn't want to hurt anyone. But he was not understood. The people from the nearby villages, who had only heard legends and whispered stories, saw only a monster in him. Their hearts were filled with fear, which turned into hatred. They began searching for Liam to destroy him. In their eyes, he was no longer the boy who once laughed among the grass, dreaming of a normal life, of friendship. He was just a beast that had to be gotten rid of before it destroyed everything it encountered. On one dark night, when the moon was full and the forest sank into silence, Liam knew he could no longer hide in the shadows. Pain, sadness, and longing for something he had never known, love, understanding, acceptance, swirled within his soul. But at the same time, he felt invisible, understood only by the darkness, by the monstrosity he carried within. The boy, and at the same time the monster, faced those who wanted to destroy him. In their eyes he saw death, and in their hands the fear that had turned them into executioners. "I just wanted to be human," he whispered, feeling his blood pounding in his temples. When the moon illuminated the sky and the forest was filled with the sounds of nocturnal creatures, Liam, the boy with a pure heart, looked at the people who had come to destroy him. In their eyes, he saw fear, not of him, but of what he symbolized. He was a mirror reflecting their own demons. Liam did not want to fight. Every day he fought with the beast within him, trying to preserve what was left of his humanity. He lived in solitude, not by choice, but out of necessity. But on that night, when the villagers came to hunt him down with torches and swords, something inside him snapped. Not because he wanted to harm them. Liam only wanted to survive. He saw their hatred, their contempt. He saw their hands trembling on the hilts of their swords, their lips tight, trying to hide their fears. He could no longer run. He realized that if he did not become what they expected of him, a monster, he would lose not only his life, but also what he had tried to protect all this time, the remnants of his dignity and his right to exist. "Why? Why are you doing this to me?" he screamed, and his voice echoed among the trees. In response, he heard only silence, the silence of those who were afraid to look him in the eyes. When the first one stepped closer, Liam felt something begin to change within him. His body tensed, his fangs extended from his mouth, and his eyes blazed with a wild light. He didn't want this. He tried to resist, but the forest, the darkness, and the fear filled him with a strength he could not ignore. In that moment, he was no longer the boy who longed for love. He was a beast who had to survive. The first scream rang out, The man who had rushed at Liam fell to the ground when the young werewolf struck him with a single blow. Liam looked at his hands, at what he had done, and felt his heart split in two. He knew there was no turning back now. "I didn't want to," he said, but no one was listening. The next attackers were closing in, and Liam had no choice. He fought, not for himself, but because he was forced to. That one night, he lost everything that remained of his innocence. When the forest was once again engulfed in silence, Liam stood alone, surrounded by the bodies of those who had come to destroy him. He was terrified of what he had done, but even more terrified that he was still alive. The night was his ally, but its darkness had never seemed so dense. Liam looked at his hands, at the drops of blood slowly dripping onto the ground. He knew he could no longer run from the forest, from himself, from what he had become. Not because he wanted to, but because the world had forced him into this transformation. To survive, he had to become the monster they saw him as. Deep in his heart, he still felt pain and guilt, but he knew that for the people, he was forever what they feared. He did not return to the village or any place where people lived. Liam, the boy with a good heart who once dreamed of being loved, disappeared into the darkness of the forest. He became a part of it, a shadow among the trees, a shadow that always remembered who he was before the world made him someone else. The moral of this story is simple yet tragic. Sometimes, what we see as a monster is created by our own fears and hatred. And those we force to become evil may become exactly what we fear, not by choice, but because we gave them no other option.